The federal judge in Donald Trump's New York criminal case found the former president in contempt for a 10th time today. The decision is a response to the former president repeatedly violating his gag order. Judge Merchan is now threatening Trump with jail time if he continues this behavior. The former president is charged with 34 felony counts for allegedly falsifying business records to cover up an alleged affair ahead of the 2016 election. Let's bring in Katrina Kaufman and Graham Cates, who are both outside the New York courthouse in Lower Manhattan. Katrina is an attorney and CBS News campaign reporter. Graham is a CBS News investigative reporter. It's so great to have you both. Katrina, let's start with you. This is the 10th time Trump has been held in contempt for violating his gag order. $10,000, I'm sure, is nothing, but a threat for jail time might be relevant. I wonder how that's being received and what this all means.
Hi, Lilia. So, yes, we're seeing a real escalation with these contempt findings. The judge is realizing that these $1,000 monetary fines are really not much of a deterrent for Donald Trump. We know that given his wealth, that's really just a very tiny fraction for him. So the judge is now saying that jail is on the table if this continues. And so far, we really haven't seen these gag order violations stopping Trump's rhetoric. If anything, he uses them to boost his fundraising. We've often seen these legal troubles boost him in the polls, and perhaps he's even daring this threat of jail, which it seems like Judge Merchan really doesn't want to have to take that step. But I was actually reminded today of a moment in the E. Jean Carroll trial where Trump was often acting out in that courtroom in a way he doesn't do in this one, but he does outside of it. And one day, Judge Lewis Kaplan in that case was saying, something to the extent of, do you want me to have to find you in contempt and put you in jail? And Trump commented, I would love that. And the judge said, I know you would. And so you almost wonder if he realizes how that might rally his base, if he's actually put behind bars as the trial is going on.
I mean, think about the amount of fundraising that came from that mugshot. It is something that I can imagine, choking here, something he can blow out of proportion even if, and perhaps say more to that narrative that he's been continuing during the campaign. Graham, I want to bring you in. How much of this long rope would Trump have if he were not president? That's something that the judge actually talked about. He said, look, you're a former president, likely the next president, or probably or possibly. It seems he says this is a witch hunt because he was president and because they want to get rid of him, that it's all political. It sounds like the judge is actually saying the opposite. Look, it's not a good look to put you in jail. Talk to us about benefit or not of him having been a president.
There's no doubt that this would be playing out differently if he wasn't a former president and a current presidential contender. You generally, when you're in a criminal trial, you can't talk about the jurors. You can't talk about other witnesses. And if you continuously violate a gag order in a case, you're held in contempt and at times actually jailed. He's gotten a lot of warnings about this. The prosecutors have said at some point we may ask for that. The judge has really drawn his red line at talking about the jurors. Time and time again, these are the things that he mentions when he finds Trump in contempt. It's the times when Trump mentions jurors, whether it's...
Okay, so the Pentagon is literally in chaos right now, and Trump is trying to distance himself from his own defense secretary. Pete Hegseth, Trump's defense secretary, got caught ordering lethal strikes on Venezuelan boats. And I'm not talking about just hitting boats and moving on. I'm talking about hitting boats and then allegedly targeting survivors in the water after the boats go down. And now leaked Pentagon documents are exposing what actually happened out there in the Caribbean Sea. Videos were released showing the strikes, but here's the problem. And this is a big one. The videos don't show the executions. The videos don't show what happened after the boats went down in the water. And that's making lawmakers furious. That's making people question what Trump authorized. That's making the entire Pentagon look like it's covering something up. And Trump is literally on Air Force One saying, I wouldn't have wanted that. I wouldn't have wanted survivors targeted in the water. But Trump authorized it. Trump signed off on it. Trump is trying to have it both ways. Trump is trying to say he didn't want this while being the person who authorized the whole operation. So here's what leaked from the Pentagon. Pentagon documents show that Hegseth approved a second strike on Venezuelan boats in the Caribbean. Hegseth gave the directive personally. Hegseth said, "Kill everybody on those boats." Those were the actual orders. And then the second strike happened. And people died. And then allegations emerged that survivors were targeted in the water after the boat sank. And now Trump is trying to distance himself by saying, "I wouldn't have wanted that to happen." But Trump authorized the presidential finding. Trump gave Hegseth the authority to conduct lethal operations. Trump is responsible for what Hegseth did. So Trump trying to blame Hegseth is not going to work. Trump authorized this whole thing. Trump is responsible. Trump is the one who signed off on the presidential finding that allowed this to happen. But before we go any further, real quick, let's be honest. You can't really trust mainstream media anymore. That's why we built Pump Politics, to bring you real stories, real context, and no corporate spin. If you want to stay ahead of the headlines, join our free newsletter. We'll send the news straight to your inbox every day. Just click the link in the description to join. And if you just want to support what we're doing, join us. Be part of the community that actually cares about the truth. All right, let's get back to the video.
Considering this kind of what would be a momentous decision is the toll that this would take not just on the defendant, but the court staff, the corrections officers who have to oversee it, the Secret Service agents he mentioned who would have to accompany Trump. He knows that there's more that would go into this than just the normal jailing of a defendant.
I mean, this case, covering it, I'm sure for both of you, there's so much that happens around and outside and even behind you as campaigns kind of happen and show up there. But let's not lose sight of the facts of the case. Katrina, what are we learning from today's testimony from Jeffrey McConney? And remind us why it's relevant.
So Jeff McConney is the former controller from the Trump Organization, and we're finally seeing the falsification of business records aspect of this case. Until now, we've really been seeing a larger catch and kill scheme laid out where they revealed this allegation that they were trying to suppress damaging stories from coming out about Donald Trump leading up to the election and really show their case for election fraud that was going on. But ultimately, that's actually an underlying charge here. Trump is charged with 34 counts of falsification of business records, and Jeffrey McConney is giving us what happened behind the scenes at the Trump Organization as these reimbursement payments were made. We're learning about conversations between him and Alan Weisselberg, who was the former chief financial officer of the Trump Organization, who directed McConney to make this repayment to Michael Cohen, and we learned sort of the numeric breakdown of that, as well as how McConney then told Deborah Tarasoff, who handled payroll at the company and who we expect to see on the witness stand at some point in this case, to mark those down as legal expenses and retainers. But what was really key is we learned that the payments had to...
And the Pentagon released videos of the strikes, 21 videos of attack operations on the boats. But here's what's missing from the videos, and this is suspicious. They don't show the executions. They don't show what happened in the water. They don't show whether survivors were targeted after the boat sank. And that's creating a huge problem because people are asking, why aren't those parts in the videos? Are they covering something up? Did something happen that they don't want us to see? And journalists are investigating this. Journalists are asking questions. Journalists are demanding to see the full videos. And the Pentagon is looking like it's covering something up. The Pentagon is looking corrupt. The Pentagon is looking like it's hiding war crimes from Congress. And that's a serious accusation, but it's what people are thinking right now. And lawmakers are demanding answers from Hegseth on all of this. Lawmakers want to know what those legal memos said. Lawmakers want to know what directives Hegseth gave to military commanders. And Hegseth's legal memos are apparently a total mess. The memos apparently bypass Congress completely. The memos apparently don't follow the law. The memos apparently justify lethal operations without proper legal authority under the War Powers Act. And lawmakers are furious about this. Democrats are furious. But here's what's wild. Republicans are furious too. Republican lawmakers are demanding answers from their own defense secretary. Republican senators are demanding briefings. And when Republicans are angry at a defense secretary appointed by a Republican president, that defense secretary is in trouble. That defense secretary is going to fall. Hegseth is in serious trouble right now. Come on, this is really serious. And Admiral Frank Bradley is briefing Congress on the strikes. Admiral Bradley is going to tell Congress what happened in Venezuela. Admiral Bradley is going to explain what Hegseth authorized. And once Congress hears from Admiral Bradley directly, the truth is going to come out. The full scope of the operations is going to be exposed, and Hegseth is probably going to have to resign from his position. Trump is probably going to have to fire him, because once Congress knows what happened, Trump can't keep Hegseth in the Pentagon anymore. Trump can't defend Hegseth anymore. Trump has to act like he's surprised that this happened. Trump has to act like he didn't know what would happen. But Trump did. Trump is responsible for authorizing the operations. And here's what's crazy about the whole situation. Trump is distancing himself from Hegseth right now. Trump is saying, I wouldn't have wanted that to happen. But Trump is the one who authorized the operations in Venezuela. Trump is the one who gave Hegseth the presidential finding. Trump is the one who told Hegseth to conduct lethal CIA operations. So Trump can't just say, I wouldn't have wanted survivors targeted. Trump authorized the whole thing. Trump is responsible for whatever happened. Trump is trying to have it both ways, but it's not going to work. Congress is going to see through it. The American people are going to see through it. Trump can't escape responsibility. And this is creating absolute chaos in the Pentagon. Military officials are getting leaked information to the press. Pentagon people are releasing videos to the press. Pentagon people are apparently cooperating with independent investigations, and that means people in the Pentagon don't trust Hegseth. People in the Pentagon think Hegseth did something wrong. People in the Pentagon are trying to distance themselves from Hegseth. People in the Pentagon are trying to protect themselves before the scandal gets worse and they get blamed. And when military officials start leaking to the press, that means there's serious chaos. That means there's dysfunction in the chain of command. That means the Pentagon is broken. Military morale is broken. Leadership is broken. So let's actually break down what happened with these Venezuelan boat strikes and why Hegseth is in so much trouble right now, because there's a lot going on and most people don't understand the full picture of what went down in the Caribbean. Trump authorized CIA operations in Venezuela. Trump gave Hegseth and the military the authority to conduct lethal operations. And then Hegseth took that authority and apparently went further than Trump wanted. Or Trump is pretending that Hegseth went too far on his own. Either way, Trump is distancing himself from Hegseth right now, and that means Hegseth is going to take the fall for the entire operation. That means Hegseth is probably going to lose his job. That means Hegseth is going to be the scapegoat for everything. Trump is going to blame Hegseth and try to escape responsibility, but Congress won't let him. First, let's talk about what Hegseth actually did and what the evidence shows. Hegseth approved a second strike on Venezuelan boats. Hegseth gave the orders to the military. Hegseth said, kill everybody on the boats. Those were the actual directives. And then the strike happened out there in the Caribbean. And people on the boats died. And then people in the Pentagon started talking to the media. People started leaking documents. People started releasing classified videos. And now the whole thing is exposed. Hegseth approved lethal strikes. Hegseth gave kill orders to military personnel. Hegseth is responsible for what happened on those boats. And now Hegseth is being exposed as the person who ordered the strikes. Trump is trying to say, I didn't know about this second strike, but Trump authorized it. Trump gave the presidential finding. Trump gave Hegseth the authority. Trump is responsible. Now let's talk about the videos that were released and what they show and what they don't show. The Pentagon released 21 videos of attack operations on Venezuelan boats, 21 separate videos showing different strikes. But here's what's important to understand. The videos show the strikes happening. The videos show the boats being hit. The videos show the military operations. But the videos do not show what happened after the strikes. The videos do not show survivors in the water. The videos do not show executions. The videos do not show post-strike targeting of people in the water. And that's creating a huge problem because people are asking, what happened after the strikes? Are they hiding executions? Are they hiding war crimes? Why don't the videos show what happened next? And journalists are investigating this. Journalists are asking where the rest of the videos are. Journalists are asking what the Pentagon is hiding. Journalists are demanding the full unedited videos from the strikes. And here's what's problematic about Hegseth's legal memos that justify the operations. The memos apparently justify lethal operations without proper legal authority. The memos apparently bypass Congress completely. The memos apparently don't follow the law properly. Hegseth created legal justifications for operations that probably shouldn't have been authorized in the first place. Hegseth's lawyers apparently wrote memos saying, we can do this without congressional approval. We can conduct lethal operations without notifying Congress. We can bypass the War Powers Act. And lawmakers are furious about those memos. Lawmakers want to see the memos. Lawmakers want to know what legal justification Hegseth used. And when lawmakers are demanding to see classified memos, that means something is seriously wrong. That means the legal foundation is shaky. That means Hegseth probably overstepped his authority. That means Hegseth probably went beyond what Trump authorized. Now let's talk about why this is creating chaos in the Pentagon and what it means internally for morale. Military officials are leaking information to the media. Pentagon people are talking to the press. And that means there's serious dysfunction internally. That means people in the Pentagon don't trust the chain of command. That means people in the Pentagon think something wrong happened. That means military officials are trying to protect themselves. That means people are worried they're going to get blamed for Hegseth's decisions. And when military officials start leaking to the press, that's a sign that leadership is broken. That's a sign that the Pentagon is in chaos. That's a sign that morale is bad. When military officers leak to journalists, it means they think the leadership is doing something illegal and they want to protect themselves. And here's what's important about Trump trying to distance himself from Hegseth right now. Trump is saying, I wouldn't have wanted that to happen. But Trump authorized the operations. Trump signed the presidential finding. Trump gave Hegseth the authority. So Trump is either lying about what he authorized, or Trump is pretending he didn't know what Hegseth would do. Either way, Trump looks bad. Either way, Trump is responsible. And Congress is going to see through Trump's distancing. Congress is going to say, Trump, you authorized this. Trump, you're responsible. And Trump can't escape responsibility by blaming Hegseth. Trump is the president. Trump authorized the operations. Trump is responsible for what Hegseth did under his authority. Trump signed the presidential finding that allowed this to happen. Now let's talk about what Admiral Bradley is going to tell Congress in the briefings coming up. Admiral Bradley is the Navy commander involved in the operations. Admiral Bradley knows what happened. Admiral Bradley knows what Hegseth ordered. Admiral Bradley is going to brief Congress on the strikes. And once Congress hears from Admiral Bradley directly, the truth is going to come out. Congress is going to know exactly what happened. Congress is going to know what orders were given. Congress is going to know what Hegseth authorized. And based on what Admiral Bradley says, Congress is probably going to demand that Hegseth resign. Congress is probably going to demand that Trump fire Hegseth. And Trump is probably going to have to do it. Trump can't protect Hegseth once Congress hears the facts. Now let's talk about the allegations of targeting survivors and why that's such a big deal legally. If Pentagon people targeted survivors in the water, that's a war crime. That's illegal under international law. That violates the Geneva Conventions. That's something that can result in criminal charges. That's something that can result in trials at international courts. And that's why the Pentagon is in chaos. That's why people are leaking. That's why people are scared. Because if war crimes happened, people are going to be charged. People are going to face consequences. And people are trying to protect themselves by leaking information. People are trying to distance themselves from Hegseth. People are trying to show that they didn't authorize the executions. And that's why the Pentagon is leaking. That's why the videos are being released. That's why there's so much chaos internally. Military officers fear they could face war crimes charges. And here's what matters politically right now. Both Democrats and Republicans are demanding answers about the strikes. Democrats are investigating. Republicans are investigating. Congress is united on demanding transparency from Hegseth. And when Congress is united against a defense secretary, that defense secretary is going to fall. That defense secretary is not going to survive. Hegseth is probably done. Trump is probably going to have to fire him. And Trump is already distancing himself so that when Hegseth falls, Trump can say, I didn't know about this. But Congress is not going to accept that excuse. Congress is going to hold Trump responsible for authorizing the operations. Congress has the evidence. Congress is going to demand accountability from Trump. Okay, so let's break this down into the key things you need to understand about what's happening in the Pentagon right now and what it means for Trump's presidency. This is a scandal that's going to have serious consequences for everyone involved. Number 1. Hegseth approved lethal strikes, based on Trump's authorization. Hegseth approved the second strike on Venezuelan boats in the Caribbean. Hegseth gave kill orders. Hegseth authorized lethal operations. And Hegseth did this based on the presidential finding that Trump signed. Trump authorized the operations. Trump gave Hegseth the authority to conduct lethal CIA operations. So Hegseth was following Trump's authorization. But Hegseth apparently went too far. Or Trump is pretending Hegseth went too far on his own. Either way, Trump authorized the entire operation. Trump is responsible for what happened. Trump can't escape responsibility by blaming Hegseth. This is simple. Trump signed the authorization. Trump is responsible. Number 2. Pentagon videos are hiding what happened to survivors. After the boats went down, the Pentagon released 21 videos, but they don't show the full picture. The videos show the strikes, but not what happened after. The videos don't show survivors. The videos don't show post-strike targeting. And that's making people suspicious. That's making people think the Pentagon is covering something up. That's making people think war crimes happened. And Congress is demanding to see all the videos. Congress is demanding full transparency. And when Congress demands full transparency, the Pentagon has to comply. The Pentagon can't hide things from Congress. Congress has oversight authority over the Pentagon. Number 3. Hegseth's legal memos are problematic and probably don't hold up in court. Hegseth created legal justifications for the operations. Hegseth's lawyers wrote memos saying the operations were legal, but lawmakers are questioning those memos. Lawmakers think the memos are weak. Lawmakers think the memos bypass the War Powers Act. And if the legal foundation is weak, then the entire operation is questionable. And if the entire operation is questionable, then Hegseth authorized illegal operations. And if Hegseth authorized illegal operations, then Hegseth is in serious legal trouble. And if Hegseth is in serious legal trouble, then Trump is in serious trouble, because Trump authorized Hegseth to conduct these operations. Trump signed the presidential finding. Number 4, military officials are leaking because they don't trust Hegseth. People in the Pentagon are leaking information to the press. People are releasing videos. People are talking to the media. And that means there's serious internal dysfunction. That means military officers don't trust Hegseth. That means military officers think something wrong happened. That means military officers are trying to protect themselves from legal liability. And when military officers start leaking to the press, that's a sign that leadership is broken. That's a sign that the Pentagon is in chaos. That's a sign that Hegseth is losing control. Military leadership has collapsed. So, what happens next with the scandal? Congress is going to have briefings with Admiral Bradley and other military officials. Congress is going to ask tough questions. Congress is going to demand answers. And based on what Congress learns, Congress is probably going to demand that Hegseth resign. Congress is probably going to demand that Trump fire him. And Trump is probably going to do it because Trump is already distancing himself from Hegseth. Trump is already saying, I wouldn't have wanted that. So Trump is preparing to throw Hegseth overboard. Trump is preparing to sacrifice Hegseth to save himself politically. And the media is going to cover this scandal extensively. The media is going to compare this to other military scandals in history. The media is going to ask, are there war crimes involved? The media is going to demand transparency. The media is going to investigate what happened. And public opinion is probably going to shift against the Pentagon. Public opinion is probably going to shift against Trump on military issues. And that's going to affect Trump's approval ratings. That's going to affect Trump's credibility on national security. And that's bad for Trump politically. And Hegseth's political career is probably over. Hegseth is probably going to have to resign. Hegseth is probably going to face investigations. Hegseth might face legal charges if war crimes happened, and Hegseth is going to be the scapegoat for the entire operation. Trump is going to say, Hegseth did this. I didn't authorize this. But Congress is not going to accept that excuse. Congress is going to hold Trump responsible because Trump authorized the operations. Trump signed the presidential finding. Trump is responsible. And Trump's base is probably divided on this scandal. Some supporters probably think Hegseth is tough, he did the right thing fighting drugs. But supporters who care about the rule of law, supporters who care about international law, supporters who care about not conducting war crimes, they're probably upset. They're probably thinking, this is wrong, this is illegal, this is what we said we didn't want. And Trump is losing support because of this scandal. Trump is losing credibility. Trump is looking like he's willing to authorize illegal operations and then blame other people for them. And internationally, this scandal is going to damage America's credibility. Other countries are going to see that America is conducting illegal military operations. Other countries are going to see that America is not following international law. Other countries are going to see that America is conducting potential war crimes. And that's going to weaken America globally. That's going to hurt America's standing. That's going to weaken America's alliances with other nations. So basically, Hegseth approved lethal strikes. The Pentagon is hiding what happened to survivors. Congress is demanding answers. Trump is distancing himself. Military officials are leaking. And Hegseth is probably going to take the fall. And when Hegseth falls, the scandal is probably going to get worse. Because Congress is going to investigate more. Congress is going to demand more answers. And the truth is probably going to come out. The truth is probably going to show that serious problems happened. The truth is probably going to show that war crimes might have occurred. And that's going to be a huge scandal for Trump heading into the midterms. So pay attention to the congressional briefings coming up. Pay attention to what Admiral Bradley says. Pay attention to what the military officials testify. That's when the truth is going to come out. That's when we're going to know exactly what happened in Venezuela. That's when the real scandal is going to emerge. And once Congress knows the truth, things are going to get much worse for Trump. Congress is probably going to demand Hegseth's resignation. Congress is probably going to investigate Trump's authorization of the operations. Congress is probably going to demand accountability, and that's going to be a major political crisis for Trump heading into the 2026 midterms. This is going to blow up.